Well, we got that and so much more coming up in the next 1 hour. Our sign language interpreter is Marisha Owiti. Now, the Judicial Service Commission verdict is out, and Supreme Court Judge Philip Tunoi will now be subjected to a tribunal after a committee appointed to probe bribery allegations leveled against him found him deserving blame. After adopting the committee report, the Judicial Service Commissioners led by Chief Justice Willie Mutunga said they were satisfied that there was inappropriate interaction and communication between Justice Tunoi and Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero's agents. Kidero is alleged to have paid 200 million shillings to the judge to influence the outcome of an election petition. Michelle Ngele has the details.
The Supreme Court is now wading in the middle of a storm that is expected to raise legal and political temperatures. For close to 2 weeks now, all eyes have been on the office of the Chief Justice and the judiciary in general since the 200 million shilling bribery allegations were leveled against this man, 72-year-old Philip Tunoi. 9 days after the Judicial Service Commission created a special committee to investigate the Tunoi bribery saga, the highly anticipated report found Tunoi culpable.
Commission is satisfied that from the totality of the material and information presented before it, there was inappropriate interaction and communication between the Honorable Mr. Justice Philip K. Tunoi and agents of a litigant in a matter pending before the Supreme Court. This, in the opinion of the Commission, amounts to gross misconduct and misbehavior sufficient to warrant the establishment of a tribunal to further investigate the matter.
Proof of communication between Tunoi and Kidero's agents was first released by the National Intelligence Service, which confirmed phone conversations between Supreme Court Judge Philip Tunoi and his accuser, Geoffrey Kiplagat, with regard to possible inducement to influence the outcome of Kidero's election petition. The Judicial Service Commission must now officially recommend President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint a tribunal to look into those allegations.
As to whether or not there is material to suggest that a bribe was given to the Honorable Mr. Justice Philip Tunoi on 27 August 2014 in order to influence the decision in Supreme Court election petition number 18 of 2014, Evans Odhiambo Kidero and 4 others against Ferdinand Waititu Ndung'u and 4 others to favor the petitioner. The Commission is satisfied that this is an issue that requires further investigation by the said tribunal.
The country now faces a constitutional and political crisis as the ramifications of the verdict by the tribunal could snowball into a clamor to have the dissolution of the Supreme Court bench, with the argument that the image of the court is dented.
If the subcommittee of the Judicial Service Commission recommends the formation of a tribunal and that they have received concrete evidence of graft against Justice Tunoi, then, and a tribunal is, as a person form a tribunal, then in that case, the whole bench of the Supreme Court will have to go.
But that is not all. All the judges who sat on the bench that issued the verdict in the petition would become the subject of the tribunal's proceedings. For the very first time in Kenya's history, the fate of the Supreme Court hangs in the balance amid calls for its disbandment. And with the 2017 general elections fast approaching, the question many are asking is just what are the ramifications of disbanding the highest court in the land? Michelle Ngele, KTN News, Nairobi.
Right, and those developments today lead us to our big question tonight. And tonight we're asking you, does the JSC report justify condemnation of other Supreme Court judges? Does that particular report justify condemnation of other Supreme Court judges? Would like to hear your thoughts on this one. The number to text in is 22155 and the hashtag to use on Twitter is Friday Briefing. We'll be sampling some of those views that you put across on those two platforms. Now, moments after the Judicial Commission released its report, National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale and Kabete Member of Parliament Ferdinand Waititu hurriedly convened a press conference where they asked Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero to step aside, arguing that the JSC report on Supreme Court Judge Philip Tunoi pointed to a possibility that justice was not served in an election petition filed by Waititu against Kidero's victory.
Mimi nataka kuambia Kidero ya kwamba imethibitishwa sasa ya kwamba wewe ulinunua haki ya wana Nairobi na pesa, na kwa hivyo ustahili kuwa gavana wa Nairobi. Wewe na kuuliza ukae kando. Jumatatu mimi mwenyewe niko kotini ya Supreme Court nikiuliza koti iweze kuweka hiyo judgment kando, ndio ibaki ile judgment ilifanywa Court of Appeal ambaye ilikuwa imesema wewe Governor Evans Kidero na deputy wako mweke hamukuchaguliwa kwa njia halali.
The men and the women who serve in the Supreme Court can no longer keep quiet. Apart from Justice Joaquin Dungu, they must say what they know about the 2 million bribery. And I think Justice Tunui must also come out clearly and say who shared the loot of the 2 million allegation.
And now our reporter Murimi Mwangi gives a breakdown of the events leading to today's report that found Supreme Court Judge Philip Tunoi culpable.
An illustrious career spanning close to 3 decades on the judicial bench, 72-year-old Supreme Court Judge Justice Philip Tunoi will now be walking what is arguably the most humiliating walk of shame in the history of the country's judiciary, when he faces a special tribunal expected to be set up by President Uhuru Kenyatta to investigate the conduct of the judge in regard to a 200 million shillings bribery allegation against him.
Arising from the foregoing, the Commission is satisfied that a prima facie case of gross misconduct and misbehavior has been disclosed against the Honorable Mr. Justice Philip K. Tunoi.
According to analysts, this report of the special committee that confirms gross misconduct on the character of Justice Tunoi, and which JSC has already adopted, may open a fresh can of worms, likely to dent even more the image of the judiciary.
The judiciary is called the Temple of Justice. It has a special place in the Constitution. It's the last place that should be corrupt. 2003, we did a radical surgery of the judiciary. Under the new Constitution, we have vetted all the judges. Are you with me? Today, the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court, is facing serious allegation of graft.
Justice Tunoi has consistently maintained his innocence, blaming his tribulations on what he referred to as the tough succession wars in the judiciary, which seems to gain momentum as the retirement day for Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga gets closer.
I cannot imagine in my mind that I can make such an amount of money in my life. Furthermore, I cannot envisage any judge remaining here for a single day, even if a fraction of that amount is given to him or her. When I retire from the bench after 30 years, I will be entitled to a lump sum of 22 million shillings.
This saga is a judiciary saga which has got nothing to do with me. But I hope, sense will prevail, sense of fairness will prevail, and the constitutional processes that are mandated in our constitution will take place.
But now suffocating in the dusty cloud of graft allegations is the Supreme Court, an offspring of the 2010 Constitution, which has by far been the hallmark of the rebirth of the country's judiciary, but one which now faces a daunting task, redeeming its image after the Tunoi bribery saga, barely 18 months to the country's next polls.
During the forthcoming general elections is worrying so many people. Who are the judges who may hear the petition in the presidency case? Which judge leans towards this group?
It's very, very painful, but we've got to realize that it's not just the judiciary, it's the country, and the people of this country must stand up, against corruption.
In a letter drafted by his advocate friend Gatia, Tunoi, who has denied the allegations from the onset, reiterated his innocence against the allegations and that he is ready to appear before the tribunal once established. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
Yes, so right now we know that the tribunal is the next thing that we'll be looking at, but let's take a look at just on the process of removing a Supreme Court judge like Philip Tunoi, if indeed he's going to be found guilty. Now, of course, the procedure governed by the Article 167 and 168 of the Constitution. Now, it states the following: and a judge may resign from office by giving notice in writing to the President. So this is in regards to the judge resigning. The judge can be removed over inability to perform the functions of office arising from mental or physical incapacity. Also, the judge can be removed out of office because of breaching the code of conduct, bankruptcy, incompetence, and of course gross misconduct. And probably that's where the case against Tunoi falls. Moving on to the other issue is, of course, removing by the JSC, and that, of course, is where we are at right now. A petitioner writes to the JSC, setting out his or her case, and this, of course, is what Kiplagat did. And JSC considers grounds for removal that has been happening for the last couple of days, and if it's satisfied with the grounds, the JSC writes to the President, and the President required to suspend the judge within 14 days and then appoint a tribunal. Now, that is where we are at right now. Let's take a look at that particular tribunal and its composition. So, of course, it has a chairperson and 3 members there, not there, but 3 members. All must be serving or have served as Superior Court judges, 1 advocate of 15 years standing, and 2 other persons of experience in public affairs. That's the constitution of a tribunal like the one we are expecting the President to constitute. Now, the remuneration issue, of course, it has been, of course, something of discussion, and the suspended judges receive half of their remuneration and the benefits. That, of course, is some of the notes there, and its recommendations. Now, this is in regards to the tribunal. The recommendations are binding to the President. Now, the judges are allowed to appeal the tribunal verdict, and appeal is allowed within 10 days after that particular tribunal report.